the gap between youth leaders and the realms of public and private sectors and NGOs.
Pemuda Harapan Bangsa, Pemudi Tiang Negara. I believe our country's future is in our hands. Us youth have a big role to play in building a Malaysia that is sustainable, inclusive and ready to face tomorrow's challenges.
Because I know all of you in this hall matter for the future of our nation. You and I are no different. We, the youth today, needs to change. The only constant is change. This Youth Economic Forum is the first step for all of you to embark on this change.
Understand that the moment you walk out of this hall, you must be a leader. You are not a slave no more. You are a leader.
These resolutions aim to empower young Malaysians through actionable policies. Key proposals include developing an AI-based national career counselling platform for post-SPM school leavers and offering a skills development tax relief to support continuous learning in green and digital sectors. Additionally, the creation of a National Youth Innovation Fund will back young entrepreneurs in these fields, while strengthening the Majlis Perundingan Belia Negara (MPBN) will give youth a more active role in shaping national policies.
They are the future, and it will be then for them to inspire the next generation as they go along. So I think it's important for us now to reach out and to say to them that the government is here looking at their interests as well, and that we are looking at how this day can take part in this journey of ours towards digitalizing Malaysia.
They must know which sector to go into, what is going to happen, what is the plan of the country, what is the economic strategy, the green economy strategy for the country. Will have its own opportunities, and they must be prepared to embrace those new opportunities.
But that's also why at YTL we decided to partner with the Youth Economic Forum, because we are a company that has a long track record in this country. We believe in talent, we believe in empowering the youth. We believe that the youth are the next generation for this country. And whatever little we can do to kind of encourage the youth to think differently, to be more innovative, to use new technologies like AI, that we want to be a part of.
It goes without asking, they play a very important and vital role in shaping up human nations, human capital as well as economy. Youths of today is very different from the youths of 10 years ago or 5 years ago. This is very critical. We accept them how they are. We guide them in the way what is critical for them. And we prepare them towards the nation's economy. And they have a very important role to play.
Well, I think the youth economy was good. I think it gives opportunity for youth to present their ideas, and I think you all just shared with us your ideas.
I want to remind you that the new economy we are building is not just for you, it's with you. Right? We are laying the foundation for an economy that is resilient, an economy that's competitive, an economy that's inclusive and driven by technology, sustainability, and innovation. So this is your opportunity to shape the Malaysia of tomorrow. As the saying goes, nothing worth having comes easy.
YABhg Tun 24.
See you next year!
Summit 2024. Now this is where we
Ladies and
gather to
gentlemen, just a
explore
soft
one of the most
reminder for
crucial
those who
issues
just
of our
arrived
time.
into the hall, can you please have your own liberty to fill up the seats up in front for a better view, for a better photograph? Yeah, so that we can give spaces for others so that they can sit at the back. Yeah, in the meantime, can you please fill up the seats in the front? Okay, thank you.
Into reality, creating a legacy of sustainability and resilience for generations to come.
Our hopes for the audience are to seek knowledge from the speakers, to network with fellow participants, and to use the insights they gain today for a greater cause.
With that, we officially open the Climate Finance Summit 2024. Thank you.
Empowering young Malaysians is to giving them the capacity to think for themselves. And yes, that's what we do at forums like this, like CFS. It's talk, but through talking, you think, but through thinking, you act.
This is the second Climate Finance Summit organized by the PFAA. Today's program went on very well. Keynote address by the Deputy Prime Minister, Dato Sri Fadilah, who set the stage for the whole day's discussion actually.
Well, the challenges are there, but Malaysia has among the most pristine forests and mangroves in the world. More than 50% is primary forest coverage in the country. This has a pricing, so there are amazing carbon sinks. So first and foremost, you need to preserve those, ensure that also Malaysia uses this carbon sink in its future schemes.
Bank Pembangunan is a developmental financial institution owned by the government. As such, we are here to support the government's initiative in addressing climate change and sustainable financing. So our role specifically is to provide impact capital such that the projects or the initiatives that the government sees as important to achieve those objectives are realizable.
Maybank has been around for 64 years and we take pride in being a partner for national development, not just in Malaysia but across countries throughout the region. Now that's a very important piece of document because not only is it a framework but it provides eligibilities and mechanisms on how we can provide solutioning for transition financing.
Opus is a subsidiary of Magenta. So basically, Opus Consultant is in the engineering consultancy as well as asset management business. For the last decade, we have
Ladies and gentlemen, kindly rise and give a warm welcome as we announce the arrival of Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad to the hall. That's just a rehearsal, short rehearsal for you guys. Yes, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly rise and give a warm welcome as we announce the arrival of Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad into the hall. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may now be seated. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera and a very good evening. On behalf of the Perdana Fellows Alumni Association, PFAA, it is both an honor and a privilege to welcome all of you to the today's PFAA speaker series. We are truly delighted to have with us Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad, as well as our distinguished guests, our valued partners and sponsors who have been instrumental in supporting PFAA's journey, the esteemed members of the PFAA, alumni, and of course, every one of you in audience whose presence this evening adds great meaning to this event. Thank you for taking the time to be with us, and we look forward to a meaningful and enriching session tonight. And now to begin our session today, I would like to pass the stage to Syed Muhammad Arif to guide this dialogue with our very own distinguished guest, Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad. Syed, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Zaid. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening. Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad, former Prime Minister, Bapa Pemodenan Malaysia, if I may just say out loud here. Welcome to the Perdana Fellows Alumni Association speaker series. Today, we are very honored to have, of course, our statesman in Malaysia, a person that I think a lot of people look up to, including myself, right? Malaysia's longest serving Prime Minister and also a figure in our nation's modern history. So at the Perdana Fellows Alumni Association, we are basically an alumni association that plans to nurture future leaders through real conversations and also meaningful exposure. The PFAA Speaker Series is one of the flagship programs that bridges the youth and also inspirational leaders like you, Tun, and also corporate leaders, giving them the opportunity to sit in the seat and talk to people not at their age, I think, right? And this initiative complements our other programs that we do annually, which we do our Climate Finance Summit, and also our Youth Economic Forum. Those are the programs that we do in trying to give opportunity for young people to have a voice and speak on issues regarding Malaysia and so on and so forth. And through these engagements, we try to shape thoughtful, values-driven leadership, right? So that everyone can try to know what the other person or the person that has experience has gone through. So I think this is something that we wish you all will get to experience tonight. And today it is my extraordinary honor to host a man whose name is wovenly deeply into the fabric of Malaysia's history. I believe that growing up, most of us here, Tun, we grow up with your policies in place. I think I was a baby of Wawasan 2020, born in 92. And I think in that time of life, in 10 years since 1992, you've done a lot for the country. And I think I wish to thank you for that. Yeah. Having served as Prime Minister for twice in a lifetime, across 2 centuries, Tun Dr Mahathir is a rare figure in leadership. Sorry. Okay. From introducing Wawasan 2020 to championing Look East policy, Dasar Pandang ke Timur, I think you've done great for the country, and I wish you will take this opportunity to share to the young people and people that come to meet you today as something that can be left for your legacy, Tun. Okay. So please join me in welcoming our distinguished guest yang amat berbahagia, Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad. Apa khabar Tun? Sihat lah. So yeah, you are 99 years old today. I mean, still going strong. Alhamdulillah, it's very good to see you. And today we've gathered. I think a lot of people want to hear it from you. Our topic of the discussion today is talking about three things: hope, legacy, and also hope, sacrifice, and legacy. I wish this opportunity for you to share something personal, nothing political. We want to know you as Tun Dr Mahathir, how you grew up, how were you nurtured as a person back then? You know, born in 1925 in Alok Setak, Kedah. Perhaps if I may start on the first question, Tun, on hope, on harapan. In 1925, many of us weren't born yet, right? So back then it was different. All of us haven't born yet, right? So I mean, back then it was different, right? How everyone had to go through certain, educational journeys, right? So it's different. Back then, Tun, do you remember a moment when your father had influenced you in your decision-making process? Can you open the next slide, please? Oh. Tun, do you remember that photo? Who's that person?
My father.
Your father? Tun, dia pakai mic tu. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tun, your father was an English teacher back then. He was an English teacher. Perhaps can you share to the crowd, how did he nurture you as a young Mahathir Mohamad? If you may share. Yeah.
My father is not the usual kind of person. In those days, Malays do not want to send their children to English school because they fear that if you go to English school, you will be converted. Because most of the teachers are Christian brothers. But my father ran to school without telling his parents. He wanted an education because somehow he felt that a good education is good for him. So he went and studied and finally graduated at Standard 4. And after that, he was one of the few Malays who could speak English. So the Kedah government decided that they should have an English school. And somehow or other, my father was selected to open the school, to start the school. So he is the founding headmaster of what is now the Sultan Abdul Hamid College. It started as GES. GES means Government English School. So that was the background. And all the time, he stressed upon his children the importance of education. And we were a little bit frightened of him. When he comes back from office, when we hear him cough, we all ran to our books to study. Because if we don't, we may get a scolding. Not a beating, but a scolding. So because of him, I had the opportunity to go to school. I went to the Malay school and then to the English school. So I had one of the few people in Alosta who managed to go to an English school. In those days, in 1 year, they take only 30 people. So I was one of the 30. And the fee was about $2 or something like that. But anyway, that's how I became educated.
Yeah. Continuing to that, Tun, you lived through the Japanese occupation back then. I would say you lived through 3 different phases of Malaysia, right? Through the Japanese times, through your time, and now the current times. Perhaps if you can share, what were the uncertain things that was dangerous back then in the Japanese occupation times? Like right now, I think everyone can easily get education. Everyone can easily go to, you know, a short course place, right? So perhaps if you can share during those times, during the 1930s, 40s, how was it in those times of Japanese occupation?
I just want to point out that I lived through many different regimes.
Regime is
when
strong
I
word.
was born, Kedah was, well, under British rule. Then the British lost to the Japanese. So I experienced living under Japanese rule. And the Japanese decided to give Kedah to Siam because the Siamese helped the Japanese army to invade Malaysia. So I live under Siamese rule. After Siamese rule, the British came back. I live under British military administration. Then after that, British civil administration. And finally, of course, we became independent. So I went through a lot of regimes.
Difficult times.
And all the time, my father was insisting that I should get a good education. At the time when war broke out, I was in Standard 8, junior Cambridge. And I sat for the exam, but the papers were sent to England. So it was only after the war that I got the results. I passed my junior Cambridge examination, and I went into senior class, Standard 9. There I had to sit for the senior Cambridge education, so examination. So I went through Malay school. For 2 years I was in Malay school, and then I went to the English school, meaning to say where the lessons are taught in English. And I finished my schooling under that rule because the highest class in those days was Standard 9. There was some higher classes, but I didn't get to go to sit for higher examination. I passed my Standard 9 and got a fairly good result by my standard.
Yeah.
And after that, I was given a scholarship to study medicine.
Was that the picture when you studied medicine, Tun?
Yes, that is the picture of me when I graduated.
Okay. It's an old photo, very old photo. Do you remember when was that taken? 1940?
Well,
80?
I graduated in 1954. I think it's 54, not 53, 54. And I think that was a time when we were very proud to be able to wear the robes.
Yeah, of course. Perhaps in those hard times, you can say that it has shaped your views of independence back then and then post-independence as well. Would you say that, Tun? I think there was a time where you were brave enough to write things about Malaya Union and such, right? How did you get that courage in those hostile times? Yeah.
Well, under British rule, we were quite pro-British, and we didn't like the Japanese. So the British came back, and we were expecting to have a good life under British rule. But then the British proposed to create the Malayan Union. What is the Malayan Union? They want to actually colonize all the Malay states which had treaties with them. They want to take over the Malay state and convert it into a British colony and to be ruled by the British. And when they proposed that, I was still in school. I was in the senior class. We felt this is not good for Malaysia. We felt that we're going to lose the country. So me and a few of my schoolmates, we decided to do something about it. What we did, of course, was to have a kind of protest. We made posters ourselves. We pasted the posters at night. You know what is a blackout? No.
Yep.
During the war, all the lights of the towns have to be blocked so that airplanes cannot see where the town is. So the whole town had no lights. So we were moving about in the dark. People couldn't see us, and we pasted posters, and that started my involvement in politics.
Yeah, that was the time when it started. And perhaps when you went through your journey as a student, when you were doing your doctorate, Tun, when you started your, your clinic, what was your biggest hope when you started that clinic? If you can share to public, your clinic.
Yeah, well, after I passed my exam, senior Cambridge, I went to study medicine. I came back, and being a government scholar, they gave me $25 a month. It's not a scholarship at all. It was just a financial aid. And I came back, I worked with the government as a medical officer for 4 years. I served in Alostar, I served in Penang, in Jitra, and in Perlis. And then I decided that I would be involved in politics, and government servants were not allowed to be involved in politics. So I had to resign and started my own private clinic called Maha Clinic. And that was the first medical clinic belonging to a Malay in the whole of Kedah. And I was fairly successful. That left me free to be involved in politics.
Okay. Perhaps, Tun, when you were sort of a full-time doctor before you became a politician, there must have been a significant time where you were remiss of, you wanted to do something, right? When you grouped up with your friends to lawan the Malay Union and such. How did that moment come about? Was it like only you leading the charge, or was there a team behind you, Tun?
Yeah, but I like to think of myself as a politician who became a doctor, not a doctor who became a politician. Because when I was in school, I was already involved in this protest against the Malayan Union. But people didn't take me seriously because I was a schoolboy. Who wants to listen to a schoolboy? So I decided that I must get a university education so that people will take my views seriously. And that is why I wanted to study law, but I didn't get a scholarship for that. I got a scholarship for medicine. I studied. I came back as a doctor. And as a doctor, I was more credible. And people accepted me as a member of at that time, the UMNO. Of course, UMNO was formed after we were already involved in politics. And a lot of my friends from school and all that, we gathered together because there were not many young people in those days who were educated, English educated. So those of us who were English educated thought that we have to do something. So that is why I resigned from government, went into private practice, and got involved in politics.
If we fast forward a little bit, Tun, when you first became Prime Minister in 1981, right? What was the first thing in mind when you had to go through, if I can rephrase the question, what were your sacrifices that you had to go through to reach that stage when becoming a doctor and becoming a Prime Minister?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I was a Prime Minister. Because, I mean, I'm not from the elitist group in my state. I was a very ordinary person, actually living in Seberang Perak, which was considered like a squatter area. And we were not rich, we were not well known, and I couldn't believe that I could become a prime minister. If anybody had told me, hey, you're going to be prime minister, I would send him to Tanjung because it's crazy. But then things happened. I was more and more involved in politics. I was active in UMNO. I came to Kuala Lumpur. I was chosen to become a member of parliament. Somehow or other, Tun Razak seems to be quite friendly. In fact, I was called Tun Razak's blue-eyed boy. So that was why eventually Tun Razak recommended to Tun Hussein that if Hussein finds any trouble, call Mahathir. You know why? Because the students were demonstrating, and I was handling the demonstration together with Tun Razak and Tan Sri Ghazali Shafi. And I told Tun Razak, you can leave this to me, I will handle this. And I was quite able to introduce laws which people don't like. Restrict students from being involved in politics. And I think that sort of impressed Tun Razak. So from then on, he admitted me into the political committee of UMNO and all that, and he recommended to Hussein that if Hussein was facing any problem, to call me. So Hussein, when he was asked to, he had to choose a deputy. He chose me as his deputy. Not that I'm friendly with him. I knew very little about Hussein. But of the three vice presidents of UMNO, that was Ghaffar, Tuku Ghazali, and myself, I had the lowest score. But somehow Hussein did not choose Ghaffar, did not choose Tuku Ghazali, but chose me. No campaign, nothing. I didn't ask him to choose me, but there you are. I mean, maybe it's called fate or whatever. He chose me as deputy president of UMNO, and therefore I became the deputy prime minister, which is one step before becoming prime minister.
Would you say Tun Razak was your mentor in those times?
Oh, yes, he was very much my mentor. I admired him very, very much because he was really concerned about the people, especially rural people. He introduced rural development. He was the one who proposed the irrigation scheme in Kedah. And he did a lot of things for the people. I admired him. I was able, together with a few other young people, we were close to him, and I regard him as my mentor.
That's great. I think that's something that not everyone knows, Tun, in the crowd, actually. I don't know. I mean, can I get a hands of, does anyone know Tun's mentor is Tun Razak? I don't think so, right? I don't think people talk about that, Tun. It's something that actually, if it comes from you personally, yeah, then it's true, right? But, other than that, Tun, perhaps is there any other individual that perhaps alleviated you to become the Tun Mahathir that you are today, other than Tun Razak, for example?
Well, there were quite a few from Kedah. There was Khair Johari, there was Snu, Abdul Rahman. These were my friends, and they were very close to Tunku Abdul Rahman. So when Tunku became president of UMNO, these people gained prominence, and I was close to them. Not that they were my mentor, but we worked together.
So if I could sum up, Tun, your your journey through leadership, right? You had a mentor, you had a group of friends, and at the end of it, you became prime minister. But in those times, of course, when you didn't have power and when you became prime minister, could you share to the audience here what were the challenges when you came to power, when you become prime minister? Were there challenges that you had to face in the early stages of being prime minister?
Yeah, even as a boy, I was unhappy with the situation of the Malays. I saw in Alostar, for example, no Malay shop. Actually, there was 1.5 Malay shop. One shop belonging to somebody from Terengganu selling songket and brassware, and half a shop selling kitab. Those were the only shops in Alostar. And I asked myself, why? Why is it like this? So I felt very unhappy. And I felt that we should also be in business. So the situation of the Malays in those days was very, very bad. They were mostly poor. They were farmers, fishermen, or at the most they were government servants working in the government if they have any education at all. So I feel very unhappy about the situation of the Malays. So all the time this bugs me. I felt that I should do something about it. And when I became Prime Minister, I saw the opportunity to do something. And I think I did. Whether it was successful or not is a matter of opinion of whoever. But I did my best to elevate the Malays so that they can be at the same level as all the other races in Malaysia.
If I can conclude the conversation on Hope Tun, I think you want the Malays to elevate themselves in terms of economic progress and whatnot. So I think if everyone can relate to that, that's Tun's perjuangan, what he wants to do, and he's still continuing that until today. I think we'd like to thank you for that, Tun. Thank you so much. And perhaps if we can move on a bit, Tun, to perhaps your sacrifices. Of course, when becoming Prime Minister, you have to sacrifice a lot of things. Perhaps can you share to the audience today what were the specific sacrifices that you had to go through, family-wise, with Tun Hasmah, for example? I don't know, with your kids, Mukris and such. Perhaps is there any specific memory that you regretted?
Nothing very much really. I spend my time in trying to do something, and I like the work. I like to do it because I feel it is worthwhile, because I'm doing something that is positive. So I don't feel tired. I can work. And of course, when I was a doctor, I used to work almost 24 hours a day. Getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to attend to cases was something normal. So throughout my life, I have always been able to work all the time. I don't complain about work. As a medical officer, I go on duty for 24 hours for 7 days. That's okay, I work. But that, I think, doesn't much, I sacrifice, if at all, other pleasures. I go once in a while to the cinema. My family, when I got married, my family understood that I had to work. They don't complain. You see, of course, I don't have much time spent with my family, but they don't complain. So it's not really a sacrifice. And I enjoyed working. And until now, even now, if I don't work, I don't know what to do. I have to go to office. I still go to office every day at the age only 99. And it's okay. We can, so long as you can function. And believe me, it's good for your health. Because if you're not active, the body tends to literally shrink if you don't use the body. You know, people who are bodybuilders, they build big muscles and all that. Why? Because they lift weights. If they don't lift weight, they won't get any big muscle. The same with your brain. If you don't think, don't write, don't read, don't talk, the brain regresses. The capacity to think, to reason and all that will disappear. But when you are active all the time, the brain is working, I think the brain is much more alive than if you are not doing anything. So when people ask what sacrifice, I really did not sacrifice anything because this is my life. My life is devoted to doing something that I like to do. And I see the disparity of wealth among the people in Malaysia as something challenging, and I could do something about it, and I enjoyed doing it.
That's great to hear, Tun. I think a lot of us can see you working until today, right? I mean, maybe Tun pun tadi daripada office kot, tak tahu kan? Tun tadi dari rumah ke daripada rumah? Tun daripada rumah tadi. So, Tun, if I may dwell deeper into your journey when you were Prime Minister, Tun, this is your first picture when you were Prime Minister. When you went into office, what was the first policy idea that you wanted to do for the country at that time? The first one. It might not be Look East policy, it might not be Wawasan 2020. It might be something that not a lot of people here know.
I thought I would like to serve the people, particularly the Malays who were left far behind. I think they could catch up with the others, provided they get good leadership and they are well educated. So the first thing that I thought of when I became Prime Minister is that I now have the authority or the power to change things, to introduce ideas that can help the Malays catch up with the others. And that was what I thought of. I didn't care about what I get for it. I think they overpaid the Prime Minister, even now. But actually, they paid me a good salary, but on the top of it, they gave me a house, they pay for electricity, they pay for the water supply, they provide me with cars, they even provide me with airplanes. So I don't have to spend money. All my pay is saved for politics, of course. And so I felt that this was a great opportunity to do something.
So I think just now I mentioned to Look East policy, Look East policy and also Wawasan 2020, right? During those times when you wanted to introduce that, did you had any friction in wanting to do contohnya Wawasan 2020 at that time?
Well, I traveled abroad even before I became minister. I went to Hong Kong in 1960. 61, I went to Japan. 62, I went to Europe on my own. I was at that time already a private practitioner. I had, in those days, the cost is very low, was very low. So I could afford to do that. In Japan, I noticed how the Japanese were. They were bombed to pieces during the war, and yet they have rebuilt their country in such a short space of time. So I asked myself, why is it that they can do it? What motivates them? What drives them? And I thought that if we can be like them, we too can achieve what they achieve. Maybe not as high, but some progress will be made by us. So when I had the chance, I introduced Look Japan, but not Japan alone. I wanted to look at Korea, I wanted to look at China, at Taiwan, because these were very dynamic countries. They were working hard to catch up with the West. And we have the capacity if we decide to do the same, and we can copy them. You must remember that the Japanese copied the Europeans. Now we copied the Chinese, the Japanese. Now, because of that, we introduced the Look East policy. And of course, the other thing is, Wawasan 2020 is all about developing this country to the level of developed countries. It's entirely possible, provided you do the right thing. If you don't do the right thing, of course, you will fail.
Tun, if I may show you a picture of when you officiated Proton back then, perhaps when we talk about Japan just now, Tun, when you were in Japan, did Proton come into mind? Or, I mean, if you can share to the crowd here, which Proton is standing still strong today, Alhamdulillah? Perhaps is a legacy for you.
By that time, I had visited Japan many times, and each time I go there, I look at what the Japanese are doing, and they were producing cars. I went to visit their factory, and I saw how they were making cars, and I thought to myself, we can do the same. So the idea came that we should build our own cars, and I was told I was crazy. Developing countries don't build cars. But why not? So there are, when you know how to do it, it can happen. Of course, we don't have the technology, we don't have the money, we don't have the knowledge of the market, etc. But all this we can learn. And I thought that we will build the car, because when you build the car, you acquire engineering knowledge. Before that, Malaysia was an agricultural country, no capacity to manufacture. I thought that if we start with the car, we would acquire engineering knowledge, then that will contribute towards more business and the growth of the country. So I decided we should build a car. I asked the Japanese, Daihatsu turned me down. They said, if you want to assemble their car, yes, but to build our car, no way. So I still talk to the Japanese, and Mitsubishi Motors agreed. And I partnered with Mitsubishi Motors and Mitsubishi Company, and started this with a capital of only 400 million ringgit. At that time, we had money. We had that amount of money. And it is the result. Until now, you see, Proton is a brand that is known not only to Malaysia, to Trinidad and Tobago and other places, because I believe we can do it if we want to.
Are you happy with the current fleet of Proton cars, Tun? I mean,
yeah, but they sold the company 49% to the Chinese. Okay, yeah. But I think they should get 100% back.
Yeah, you can tell that to the Prime Minister. Tun, perhaps if I may go in deeper a bit on Wawasan 2020, Tun. Can you share with the audience today a specific memory of something that you've achieved of Wawasan 2020 that you want to share to everyone here? If you have a specific memory that you can share on Wawasan 2020 itself. Because I believe Wawasan 2020 had catapulted Malaysia and also Malaysians to a certain level. I think most of our senior people here went through that, and I think maintained that momentum. And I think you carried the way through your 20 years reign of Malaysia.
I was already Prime Minister for almost 10 years. During that time, the country was growing. We were doing quite well. We were growing at 7-8% a year. So I thought that if we keep on at this rate, we can become a developed country. So we decided, let's make this our target, that we want to become a developed country in our own mold, not just a copy, but in our own mold. And if we keep on growing at 7-8%, after 30 years, we should become a developed country. It's exponential. The growth is exponential. So every year, when you say 8% of this year is higher than 8% of last year. So we think we could do it, but you must know how. You must know how. Malaysia must be better industrialized, better educated, more engineers and all that. And I already noticed the new technologies coming at that time. And I thought that with the new technologies, we can grow even faster. So when we targeted becoming a developed country, it's not a dream. It is a possibility. We can do it, but you must do the right thing. Unfortunately, of course, when I stepped down, they changed the direction, they changed the policies, they focus not on becoming developed, they focus on making money for themselves. So after that, we didn't achieve the objective.
Thank you, Tun, for sharing that. Perhaps, I mean, specifically when you mentioned, 2003, and then you, stepped down, and then everything went haywire, I would say, if that's correct lah. But perhaps, Tun, can you give an advice to the younger generation here on how did you actually reach to that level of, going through the sacrifices, going through the, hardships, right? How can you advise the younger generation here, which I believe needs the inspiration? Because I personally believe that we are at a slower pace in terms of development. Perhaps in your time it was different. Back then maybe there were not a lot of graduates, but now I think that who in here is a master's degree graduate? Can you raise up your hands? This is a lot, Tun. Back then nak jumpa satu pun susah. Can you share to the people here that maybe are working hard every day, what should they hold on to? As such, you had hold on to for 99 years, Tun. Right?
Well, the experience I had when I was a boy was different from what the young people have today. When I was a boy, we were living under foreign rule. They looked down upon us. They look down upon us, and that I cannot accept. I cannot accept people looking down because, they say the Malays, they cannot do anything. Everything has got to be done by other people. Why? I thought that we can do what others can do. So that drives me to show that they are wrong. I wanted to show to the British that when we become independent, we will show that Malaysia is more capable than what they thought when we were under them. And sure enough, Malaysia developed well after independence. Before independence, we were really very poor. All we did was to plant rice and catch fish, and maybe plant a few rubber trees. That's all. We were very poor, and they looked down upon us because we were not well educated, we have very few university graduates, etc. That I cannot stand, being looked down upon. So I was determined that Malaysian must be admired by people because we can do things that others can do. And that was what drove me to work almost 24 hours a day to achieve that objective.
If you could speak to your younger self, Tun, perhaps if you've made a mistake, everyone has made mistake, Tun. Kita semua pernah buat salah. What would an advice be to your younger self, Encik Mahathir dulu, ataupun Datuk Mahathir dulu? What would something be good for you as an advice from someone from the future?
Yeah, things are a bit better now. I mean, we have universities. Many people go to universities, graduate, they even have their PhDs and all that. things are easy now. Even getting a scholarship is quite easy. So there is no challenge. There is nobody, you're very comfortable. When you are comfortable, you don't want to move. You want to stay in that place. And you think that things will not change, that it will continuously progress and will be better all by itself. It's not so. You don't understand that we change a lot from the time of being colonized to the time now. The changes have been tremendous. Why? Because we work hard towards that. But now people are very comfortable. So why do you have to have this policy? You know, there is a certain malaise that you don't want to do anything anymore. I am okay. If others are not okay, that is their business. But I am okay. So I don't have that kind of spirit that pushes us to be as good as everybody else. We have the capacity to do well, but we are not using our capacity. This is a very rich country, you know, but we are not exploiting our wealth. We have bureaucratic procedures, and can you imagine? The other day it was estimated that we have 800 billion ringgit worth of rare earth, but it's still in the ground. We haven't brought it up because we are haggling about it, quarreling with state and federal and bureaucratic procedures. All kinds of things get in the way. So although the country is wealthy, have got tremendous potential, we are not exploiting our potential.
Thank you, Tun, for that sharing. And perhaps if you can expand a bit on what would you want the audience in here to remember you as your legacy, Tun? Other than Wawasan 2020, other than this Look East policy, what do you want us to remember your legacy as, Tun, if you can share to the public here today?
Everybody asked me this question. The first thing I did when I came minister is that my name must not be used for anything. Normally, of course, if you become Minister of Education, the schools will be named after you, even after your wife. There's Sekolah Cik Tum, which is wife of Cik Khair. But I don't allow my name to be used to remember me. You can forget about me. Until now, practically nothing in Malaysia has got my name, excepting for some doctors, they want to put my name to some of their awards. They asked many times, I finally agreed. But I don't care whether people remember me or not. You can forget about me. But think about the things that I did that can contribute towards nation building.
Thank you, Tun. I think it was a very meaningful one. So I guess, Tun, to many of us, I think that look up to you as a leader, who I think shaped Malaysia's path to where it is right now. Maybe what lessons can you share to us on how do you be successful? Successful, berjaya.
Yeah, it is really very simple. You do the right thing. When you do the wrong thing, of course you fail. I mean, if you are asked to study, you study. As I told you, I wasn't the best student in the university. I had to work harder than other students. I had 3 A's, they had 6 A's. I read books, I read my textbook 5, 6 times. Somehow or other, the brain records. I didn't try to memorize, but the brain records, when you read 5 or 6 times, when I answer question in examination, I could practically see the page in the book that I have read on that subject, or the picture I could see, because I read it many times. You know a friend, not only because he is your friend, but somehow rather you know him very well. You know his face, you know the way he walks, you know the sound of his voice, you know his characteristic, not because you memorize, but because you meet him often. Because you meet him often, the brain registers. It's the same with everything else. If you do things repeatedly, then you will succeed. And do the right thing. Don't do the wrong thing. I mean, you are given charge of money. You steal money. That's wrong. You shouldn't. People trust you. You have to do things properly, according to the rule of law, so to speak, and to high moral values. I've been taught my own mother that I should not take what belongs to others. Actually, that happened when I took my brother's some toy that he had, and I didn't want to give back. My mother told me, no, it's not yours. It's not yours. You have to give it back. You don't take what belongs to others. That sticks to me. I don't take what doesn't belong to me. And I think there is no necessity to do the wrong thing. Do the right things and you will succeed.
Thank you, Tun, for that sharing. I think as a reminder for everyone that, if you are not good at something, like Tun said, you do it 5 times, inshallah, you'll be okay. But if you don't do it the second time, I'm sorry, you're not going anywhere. So, Tun, I think, thank you so much for sharing a lot of these inspirational journeys that you had gone through. I'm going to open the floor to some questions so that at least the audience can speak to you. Maybe they want to thank you for your years in service. I'm going to have 30 minutes for this Q&A. I hope I can get guys and women to answer the question. And let's try to make it short and simple. Everyone that wants to ask a question, you say your name, where you're from, and the question. I don't want a lecture. I want Tun to answer the question. Okay, siapa? Mungkin bolehlah ni, Lydia depan. Lady first, Lydia. Keep it short and sweet and quick.
Yeah. Hi, Tun. Thank you so much for sharing. I feel like it was a flashback of my life. It was like a recap. And of course, even before, many years before. Thank you for sharing a lot of things. So I just came back from a master's studies in the UK. And even as far as in the UK right now, from a visit at the FCDO, we were talking about you actually. We were saying how Margaret Thatcher, the former British Prime Minister, in the 1980s removed subsidies for a lot of foreign students. And Malaysia at the time, we have about 17,000 students studying in the UK. And once the subsidy is removed, of course, like the cost will increase for us, right? And you launched a campaign called Buy British Last, and it worked. So finally, we got, I don't know if we got back the subsidy, but we got grants. And until now, the effect is still there. We got, we still have this Chevening scholarship, British scholarship. So my question to you, Tun, what are your thoughts? Like right now, what is the future of education for Malaysia? Do we still look west? Like how you mentioned how influential British education was to you? Or should we start looking east? Yes.
What are my thoughts on?
The future of education. What should we think about it?
Future of education.
Yes, like for universities, where should we go? Malaysia, the west, or the east? What are your thoughts?
Well, education is meant to prepare you for a better life. If you have the knowledge, you can improve your situation. But the situation changes. So education must change with the times. I mean, at one time before, if you study geography and history, you are considered capable of administration. But it is not so. You have to learn about administration. Nowadays, it's all about technology, about AI. You have to conquer the new knowledge. And I find that we are not doing that. We talk about it a lot, of course. Nice statements are made, but on the ground, things are not being done. Let's see how we teach people. We still do the same thing. We have a teacher in a class teaching the class. If the teacher is good, the class does well. If the teacher is bad, sorry for the class, you are not going to do well. But nowadays, you can record and play back very easily. Now, if you get the best teacher teaching, you record that, and the whole country makes use of that brilliant teacher, then everybody will have the benefit of good teaching. But we are not doing that. We are still trying to teach children or students by the class teacher. And sometimes the class teacher is not very good or something, then we have to pay a high price for that. So we should use new technology in the way we deliver knowledge.
Thank you, Tun. Yeah, gentleman in the middle. Yep, please. Tak apa kalau tak perlu mic, tak boleh. Suara kuat tak apa. Kena, okey, boleh, okey.
Assalamualaikum, Tun. My name is Dr. Mujahid. I'm a medical officer in one of cardio center in Selangor. Tun, just this week, actually, 2 of my patients passed away, awaiting bypass surgery in the ward due to long delay of public healthcare system. This would not happen in private center. I think at the moment, our public healthcare system is on the brink of collapse. And our private sector is booming very well, with becoming one of medical tourist center. In your opinion, what goes wrong in our country that made it happen like this, and how we can bridge this gap, life-threatening gap for the patient? Thank you so much.
Well, your patient does not know what he is suffering from. He comes to you with a headache. But he's not suffering from a headache. He's suffering from some disease which caused him to have the headache. So you do study, analysis, do special examination, etc., to determine what he's suffering from. So that is old-fashioned. What I learned in medicine is no longer the way you treat people. Nowadays, you know what they did to me? They take my blood. They take my blood, they analyze, and they tell me what's wrong with me. I've been poked with needle 40 or 50 times. Every time I meet a doctor, he doesn't even put his stethoscope on me. He just took the blood. So we should have a very simple way of getting this diagnosis quickly. All you have to do is that each patient comes to you, get an assistant to take the blood. And today, analysis doesn't take much time. And as you analyze the blood, you know what the person is suffering from. So the way you deal with patients need to be studied to find ways to shorten the period of diagnosis. Once you have diagnosis, of course, there may be 2 or 3 diseases. Is for you to choose which one and to determine which medicine. All these things are prescribed already. You can do that very quickly. But I'm afraid young doctors nowadays always complain they have to work so hard. It's not fair. Even their parents complain. When I was medical officer, I used to go on duty for 1 week and 24, on medicine, 1 week, 24 hours a day. For surgery, 1 or 2 days, and then we stop. So I never complain because it's good training. That is why now I can work day and night because working to me is normal. I mean, you want to be a doctor, you have to know that a doctor has to serve. And you can't tell the patient, please get well during office time. Or please get diseases, get your baby during office time. Not at 3 o'clock in the morning. They don't choose the time. I used to answer night calls, even as a private practitioner, and I think very little complaint in those days. But we didn't have enough doctors. Now we have a lot of doctors, all specialists, and I think we should look into how they manage patients.
Thank you, Tun. I'm gonna get a mix of people, not just young people. I think I have to give it to older people juga. Oh, boleh lah. Ada seorang tu. I mean, just for your info, Tun, hari ni banyak pelbagai lapisan masyarakat lah yang datang. Orang muda, orang yang umur 30-40, ada yang 50-70 pun ada. Ni salah satu lah. Encik, sebut, silakan. Soalan.
Assalamualaikum yang amat berbahagia Ayahanda Tun. Nama saya Anwar Idris. I have a compulsory punya retirement. Okay. Mr. President, mohon izin dalam bahasa Melayu. Okey, negara kita sudah hampir 67 tahun merdeka. Saya, Mr. Presiden, hidup dalam wawasan 2020. Saya amat berterima kasih kerana saya hidup dalam dasar ekonomi baru DEB dan juga bekerja di dalam wawasan 2020. Saya dan isteri adalah bukti daripada dasar ekonomi baru DEB dalam erti kata peluang untuk melanjutkan pelajaran ke peringkat yang lebih tinggi. Ayahanda Tun telah menjadi Perdana Menteri 2 kali, hampir 24 tahun. Dan negara kita melihat pertukaran Perdana Menteri sudah bertukar. Tapi pada pandangan saya, negara kita masih lagi di takuk lama. Maksudnya, kita masih lagi terperangkap dalam ekonomi membangun. Belum lagi developing countries. Apa yang menjadi yang menjadi jelas sekarang ialah gejala rasuah, terutamanya di kalangan orang-orang Melayu. Jadi soalan saya, apakah pandangan Tun, mengapakah rasuah ini berlaku dan apakah tindakan yang harus kita ambil, terutamanya orang Melayu khasnya dan juga rakyat Malaysia amnya dari segi rasuah. Terima kasih.
Ya. Tiap-tiap satu bangsa mempunyai budaya tersendiri. Budaya di sini berkenaan dengan nilai hidup, your values in life. Kalau dalam budaya itu kita pegang kepada yang baik, kita akan elak daripada rasuah. Kalau kita tak pegang kepada budaya yang baik, kita akan terlibat dengan rasuah. Sebab itu daripada kecil lagi, kita kena didik anak kita bahawa rasuah itu tidak baik. Bila disemai di waktu kecil, sampai dia besar pun terlekat di otak dia. Umpamanya, jangan curi. Most of us will not steal. Pasal curi itu adalah perkara yang tidak baik. Berdosa. So, kita kena semai kepada anak-anak kita nilai-nilai yang mulia daripada kecil lagi. Tetapi orang yang sudah dewasa, sukar untuk tukar mereka. Tapi boleh dibuat, boleh ditukar. Pasal budaya atau nilai hidup, your values in life can change. Kita tengok ada bangsa-bangsa yang menukar cara hidup mereka kerana pressure tertentu. Kalau kita semai ataupun stress that rasuah is a crime and we take action, then I think we will succeed in reducing the crime. But if the person asking you to jangan terlibat dengan rasuah, tapi dia sendiri terang-terang perasuah, siapa nak percaya? So leadership is very important. Leader mesti tolak sama sekali rasuah. Ini kita dapat satu leader yang kata cash is king. Bila dia kata cash is king, bermakna dia kata rasuah boleh. Kita boleh amal rasuah. Dan rasuah di Malaysia sudah meningkat sehingga melibatkan hampir semua pegawai-pegawai kerajaan. Sebab itu leadership is important. Training when they were small is important. And tekanan terhadap orang yang berasuah ini, action must be taken. Whether dia pangkat tinggi ataupun pangkat rendah.
Thank you Tun for the answer. Another lady lah bagi Fanid soalan. Okay, silakan. Fanid kita ambil belakang. Siapa kena angkat dulu? Angkat tangan. Okay. I queue terus. Korang kena laju sikit tanya soalan. Tidak? Okay, pernah 1, 2, 3. Kita ambil 3 line. Okay.
Jangan risau Tun. Dan saya akan tanya soalan tu cepat je. Tun, saya Fanid. Today Malaysian compared to where, when you were Prime Minister before, we were very polarized. Be it race, be it ideology, even political mindset. Things have changed from what you visioned during Wawasan 2020. We have already passed Wawasan 2020. Tak ada lagi kereta yang terbang. Semua kereta masih di atas jalan. Jadi Tun, with the situation of our political, economic and also world geopolitics, in the next 10 years, what do you think where we are, the Malaysians? What is your prediction?
Where we are.
Where we gonna be in the next 10 years, Tun? What do you think?
Sistem demokrasi ini is a very good system. But democracy means anybody can become Prime Minister. If you want to be an office boy, you have to pass some exam. You are qualified. But if you want to become a Prime Minister, you don't have to have any education at all. Tak ada qualification. So all kinds of people now become wakil rakyat, become Prime Minister, ministers. And when they become ministers, they have no idea about what to do. Now, if the government does not know what to do, you cannot predict what the future is going to be. So what I see now is that this country should not be in a bad state economically. We are rich, but the people who are running this country really does not know how to run the country. So, you see, in the development of nation, there is a trend from before. You see the trend moving up like that because we are making progress. So the graph is mounting and it should go up like that. But when you come to a certain stage, you find that the leadership and the capacity of the government is poor, then the graph goes down like that. So if you ask me, what will happen in the future. At this moment, I would say that we are not going to make progress. But we don't know. There may be a change of leadership. Better people might run the country. Then, of course, we will do well. But my feeling is that there is, the opportunity to do well is today much less than before. We had already set the system and the policies, but they discarded the system and they are not doing so well now. And of course, outside factors also play a very big part now. The world is changing. Populations have increased. The climate has changed. And we have crazy leaders like Mr. Trump. So we are going to see a lot of problems which are insoluble, very difficult to resolve. And it requires great leaders to be able to tackle the problem artificially created by a bad leader.
Thank you, Tun, for the answer. I think there was a gentleman there. Sir, on the left. Apa ni, siapa pula? Okay, kita pilih seorang kat sini. Ni boleh lah seorang ni. Okay, apa ni? Lady satu, apa ni satu. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Tun, so much for your sharing. Nama saya Naufal. Soalan saya quite short, I guess. Soalan saya tentang dasar ekonomi baru. Jadi, dasar ekonomi baru tu kira merupakan buah fikiran daripada jawatan kuasa Magiran. Dan sebagai salah seorang pemimpin kanan, kira Tun pada ketika itu, boleh kongsikan kepada kami kenapa dasar ekonomi baru dibina menggunakan kriteria kaum sebagai satu kriteria utama dan bukan pendapatan keluarga sebagai kriteria untuk bantuan kerajaan. Terima kasih.
Ya, di mana-mana masyarakat pun ada orang yang kaya, ada orang yang miskin. Biasanya yang miskin lebih ramai daripada yang kaya. Apabila disparity, jarak antara miskin dan kaya itu terlalu luas, kita akan hadapi masalah sosial. Mungkin sampai kepada tahap civil war pun boleh berlaku. Sebab itu kita perlu kurangkan jarak. Reduce the disparity antara miskin dengan kaya. Dan ini memerlukan kita memberi keutamaan kepada yang miskin. Beri lebih banyak peluang kepada mereka. Bantu mereka supaya mereka boleh catch up. Kejar yang ada di hadapan. Tetapi ada faktor lain yang memainkan peranan. Karakter orang yang miskin. Apa yang berlaku di Malaysia ialah kita wujudkan banyak peluang. Kita bagi kontrak, kita bagi AP, kita bagi lesen, macam-macam. Tetapi mereka tak mempunyai kecekapan dalam bidang perniagaan. Mereka jual lesen, mereka jual AP, mereka jual kontrak. Sebab itu mereka tak berjaya. Bahkan jarak antara miskin dengan kaya menjadi lebih buruk. Untuk mengatasi cara itu, kita perlu pilih orang yang berbakat. Di antara orang miskin ada yang berbakat atau ada yang tidak. Kita cari orang yang berbakat. Kalau boleh, kita bagi latihan kepada mereka sebelum kita bagi peluang. Kalau kita buat cara yang macam itu, barulah kemungkinan out of 10, mungkin 2-3 akan succeed. We cannot achieve 100%, tak boleh dapat lah. Tapi kita boleh buat. Cara dia tu ada. Tetapi kita berhadapan dengan banyak tekanan lain. Faktor lain yang menghalang kejayaan dasar ekonomi baru. Dasar ekonomi baru adalah tiruan kepada affirmative action yang dimula di Amerika, di mana orang dalam the blacks and the white, the jarak antara mereka ini terlalu luas dan selalu berlaku rusuhan dan masalah sosial. Sebab itu mereka perkenalkan affirmative action. Malangnya mereka dibantah oleh pihak yang kaya yang menyoal kenapa mereka orang ini diberi keutamaan. Kalau kita tak bagi, mereka tak akan berjaya. Dan yang kaya akan menjadi lebih kaya, yang miskin lebih miskin. Kita punya experience di sini. Ada juga kejayaan. Dalam bidang pelajaran umpamanya, we were successful. Dulu masa saya pergi ke universiti, cuma 7 orang daripada 70 orang adalah orang Melayu. Tapi sekarang ini kita bagi peluang banyak supaya anak Melayu belajar. Dan they have done quite well in education. They have come back menjadi doktor, lawyer, engineer, architect, macam-macam. Dalam area itu kita berjaya. Tapi dalam bidang perniagaan dan perusahaan kita belum berjaya. Ada sedikit yang berjaya. Saya yakin mereka boleh berjaya kalau diberi latihan yang cukup dan kita awasi cara-cara mereka bergerak.
Okay, I think gentleman in front dia tadi dah menunggu tadi. And then ni kita ambil lagi 3 and then selesai lah. Okay, your question quick. I'm trying to squeeze in everyone to ask a question.
Salam Tun. My name is Mahidun. First thing of all, I would like to say thank you, terima kasih, because I'm truly anak jati Malaysia. Education, everything from Malaysia, and a proud graduate of Multimedia University, which is one of your legacies that you should be proud of. My question is very simple. What is your advice to us as young leaders? Apakah amanat Tun for us to continue your legacy, right? With Tun's hope that this legacy can be continued in the future. So very simple question. We just nak dengar amanat Tun kepada orang-orang muda di sini. Terima kasih.
Again, we go back to the value system. Do you feel any pride in your country? If you feel that it's okay, you don't care if people look down upon your country, you do nothing. But if you have pride, like the Japanese, they have very strong pride in their country. The Japanese behavior and the Malay behavior is different. When the Europeans came to Japan and attacked Japan, the reaction of Japan was to take the technology of the European so that they can compete with the European. In Malaysia, the Malays initially, when the Europeans and the Chinese came, they found that these foreigners do a better job than them, and they retreat. They left it to the foreigners. The wealth is there. You know, before, mining was done by Malays, but very, very poor result. They are not very good at it. The Chinese came and they introduced open cast mining on a big scale. And the Malays say, we don't have to do any work. We just rent the land to them. We collect money, don't have to work. So the Malays stopped mining, let the Chinese do. And when the British came with their dredgers, worse still. Everything is done by the Chinese and the British. And the Malays hope to collect money from rental. And we lost the skill of mining. The Japanese would learn how to do what the others are doing. We retreat. That is why we find the division today between Malays and Chinese and Indians. Because the Malays tend to look for easy way out. Easier to collect rent than to do mining. or to do business by themselves. So they must now change their mind. You must take the challenge, go in, learn, improve your ways, copy others. They can do. The ability is there, but the budaya, the value system does not push them to take up the challenge.
Thank you, Tun, for the answer. I think I'm going to give Leroy. Tun, I think if you don't know or remember, Leroy was actually your Perdana Fellow in 2017. Can you? There's two gentlemen actually. That was your Perdana Fellow. There's two. These two guys. Maybe you remember them, maybe tak. Tapi they were in your office. So what's your question? Very quick one. I have a few. Ada janji kat atas tu. Tak apa, kita pusing sikit.
Tun, hi, I'm Leroy, and my question to you is regarding Wawasan 2020, which you launched in 1991. Tun, you are undisputedly the most influential Prime Minister in Malaysian history, and good to see that nearing 100, you are sharper than ever. I remember when we were working in Tun's office, he would come in the office every day around 6 to 7 o'clock, and I'm still sleeping. Tun, you were Prime Minister for 22 years, and you handpicked and groomed a lot of successors in order to ensure that Wawasan 2020 will be carried on even after you left. When you stepped down in 2003, when you stepped down in 2003, you handpicked your successors, the late Tun Abdullah, and after him, Datuk Seri Najib. When Datuk Seri Najib couldn't deliver, you came back to finish the job yourself in 2018. But unfortunately, you stepped down in 2020. After that, Tun, your number 2 in Bersatu, who you groomed, Tan Sri Muhyiddin, took over as Prime Minister. And then we had Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri. And even today, Tun, it can be argued that you were the one who elevated and groomed Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim in his early days. He would likely not be there if not because of you elevating him in various ministerial portfolios when he was young. But Tun, despite yourself, your long tenure, and all your handpicked successors, today, while Malaysia has made progress, we are not there yet. It's now 2025, and we are 5 years behind schedule. Tun, my question is not to lay blame, but to look forward. How do you think we can still get there? What do you think is the missing ingredient that up to now we cannot find? That Singapore has found in the 1990s, that Brunei has found, that Korea, Japan, China has found, that Malaysia still has not found despite all our leaders thus far. How can we get to a Wawasan 2020 and a developed nation status even if we get there late?
Very hard question.
I get a lot of credit for whatever is achieved by Malaysia. But actually, it's not me. A lot of other people were involved. I listened to people. I was trained as a doctor, not as an engineer, not as a financier, not in any other discipline. I am a doctor. But when I am faced with a financial problem, I know nothing about it. I had to tackle. I was Prime Minister at that time. So I asked experts. I set up a committee of experts, financiers, businessmen, academics, individuals who are specialists and all that. And I talked to them, I listened from their views, and I used their ideas and also my own ideas as to how to tackle a financial problem. A medical problem, I think I can resolve some of the simpler things, but financial problem, I was not an expert. So what we need is a Prime Minister who is willing to listen to the views of the expert and make use of those views. But we find leaders who think they know everything. Or they keep on making pronouncements on this, that, and everything. No man in the world knows everything. Everybody have got shortcomings. you are not always knowledgeable. So the system of government today is needs to be adjusted. We have a cabinet. The cabinet, of course, should advise the Prime Minister or debate and point out the good and the bad points. Unfortunately, the quality of the cabinet has gone down. So I set up a committee of experts and I make use of them to fill me up with knowledge and to give me answers to questions. And I follow what they say. Of course, in the end, I make the announcement, I get the good name. But actually, the ideas come from other people. So what we need is a system where the Prime Minister not only listens to the cabinet, but also to a committee of experts. The first thing I did when I came back as Prime Minister was to appoint a council made up of eminent people, headed by Tun Daim. It's because I need his expertise. He's a good financier. I am not. So I make use of people with good knowledge in order to make decision. Of course, in the end, I have to make the decision. But at least listen. What is happening now is that you are expecting prime ministers who are genius. They are not. You don't have any prime minister in the world who are genius. Certainly not Trump. And we need to be advised. And that is the system that we should adopt in the future. And I believe we will do better with that system.
Thank you, Tun. I think I'm going to take three last one. There's one there, Yuan and Iwanina. Okay, let's get the three questions and then we wrap this up. Very short and sweet, yeah?
My question very simple. Tun, after more than 20 years of special policies for the Bumiputra, why do you think the economic gaps or dependency mindset still exists? What do you think went wrong and what can our current leaders do to fix that? That's it. Thank you.
We were too optimistic. We thought that within 20 years, everything would be resolved. But at the end of 20 years, we found that we have not achieved our target. And when you don't achieve the target, you give yourself time. You have to extend it, but not in the same form. The new economic policy has been changed quite a lot. That the first time, of course, we have to insist on 30% Bumiputra ownership. It was not possible. Many things were not possible. And also to find Bumiputras was very difficult. In those days, there were not so many university graduates, for example. Now we have a lot, and we can train them. We have a system like TVET, which enables us to upgrade the skills of the Bumiputras. I think if you give a time, modified new economic policy, we would be able to reduce, not actually catch up, but reduce the disparity in the ownership of wealth between the different races. When the ownership of wealth is not so different, then there will be less tension.
Okay, Yuan, I'm going to give you this chance. Yuan is president of Harvard Alumni Malaysia. And after this, Ewanina for the final question. Okay, Yuan, please.
Sorry, thank you for letting me have the floor. I'm Yuan. I'm the president of the Harvard Club of Malaysia, and I'm also a alumni from the Perdana Fellow program. So, very glad to be here, and thank you, Tun, for speaking and inspiring the next generation of youth. My question is around, I think maybe more political. What do you think, you could have done better in your 7th prime ministership versus your, I think you did very well in the 4th one when you were 4th prime minister, but 7th prime minister, there was, I think you lost power and there was, a few things that didn't go so well. So maybe a few years after, maybe you can give us your reflections on what you could have done better in the 7th prime ministership and how would you have gone about doing that?
Can you say it more loudly? Because
Oh, okay. Sorry, Tun. Yeah, so in your 7th prime ministership, maybe you can elaborate what you think you could have done better after a few years of reflection, right? Because I think a few things didn't go well. There was the transition of power and a few other areas, right? Which maybe could have been avoided.
Yeah. When I became prime minister for the 2nd time, as the 7th prime minister, there were lots of correction to be done. The mistakes made by Najib, by the people before me, there were so huge mistakes, including borrowing money and spending money and committing crimes and all that. I was busy tackling those things, and I was busy trying to reshape the government. And as I was doing that, I need support. Unfortunately, Najib came up with this idea that we should have a Malay-Muslim government. And she says that the government I led was not Malay-Muslim. Yes, it was not Malay-Muslim, but we were doing fairly well. So he managed to persuade my supporters to cross over and join Najib. We were fighting Najib. Now we are going to join him. I refuse. I said, you want to go, you can go, but I'm not going to join Najib. So the work I was doing had to be cut short. And I was not able to solve many, many problems. But I did solve some problems. Among them, of course, that legal action was taken against Najib. But there was legal action to be taken against many others. But I didn't have the time to do. So I find that my own party rejected my advice. That means they have no confidence in me. I had to resign. And of course, I hope to be able to come back, but for some reason or other, the king chose Muhyiddin to become the prime minister. Well, I can't protest. He became prime minister. Unfortunately, he did not want to listen to my advice because of he thinks he knows better, perhaps. Maybe that is true, but I was not able to implement many of the ideas that I have to correct the mistakes made by the previous prime ministers, namely Abdullah Badawi as well as Najib.
Okay, last one. I think Ewanina, the question. Yeah.
Assalamualaikum Tun. Nama saya Iwanina, previously Director for Youth Economic Forum with the help of President Said. Just now you often emphasize on doing the right thing. How do you define doing the right thing in leadership when failure or uncertainty is part of the process?
I think it's quite simple. Would bribery be right? I don't think you would say Rasuah is right. You don't do that. And when you are entrusted with a job, you do as the best that you can. Those are the right things. I mean, don't be distracted by maybe a chance to make money on the road. You see, when you are in power, as you know, power corrupts. you are able to handle certain things. Do it correctly. Don't do the wrong things. When you are you are a prime minister, you don't work for yourself. You work for the people. That is right. But when you say cash is king for yourself, is that right? That's not right. What is right is that the money is the people's money. You have to manage it in the way that the people want you to manage, not by doing something that is not proper. So the right thing is actually very simple. You know, some people think that if you are prime minister, you have a chance to steal money, government money. And they assume that I must have stolen money because I was prime minister. I had the opportunity to steal money, but I didn't steal. But Anwar says I stole money. So I challenged him. I said, you prove that I have stolen money. Now it's 2 years already. He still haven't proven. I never took any money. In fact, government offered me land. I didn't take. I bought the land. I have a piece of land in Putrajaya. I didn't want to take government money. Even though I had served for 22 years, they offered me land in Putrajaya. I said no. I want the land, but I want to pay, and I paid. The record is there that I paid. I don't want to do something that would be regarded as wrong. I do not give my children any chance at all. No business with the government. No, they cannot even go into politics. I don't appoint my son as a deputy president. Well,
Ouch.
I don't do that. And my children had to do business outside of Malaysia until I stepped down. Then only they do business here. So what is right? I think nepotism is not right. But being fair is right. Thank you.
A round of applause for Yang Amat Berbahagia, Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad. Thank you, Tun. I think you reminded us a lot of your hope, the sacrifices that you had to go through, and also the legacy perhaps that you want to leave behind. Thank you so much for having to be here for this session. I hope everyone here is sort of inspired. I hope you know what you need to do in the next steps of life, from the man himself, Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad. I will pass the floor to the MC for the next session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Syed, for moderating such an engaging session with Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad just now. To commemorate this moment and express our deepest gratitude, we will like now to present a token of appreciation to Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad for gracing us with his presence and for sharing his invaluable insights with us this evening. May we kindly invite Syed and also Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad to the center of the stage for the presentation. First time you become prime minister. Maybe you have this in your room, maybe? No, you don't. All right. And while we have our distinguished guests on stage, we will now like to invite the Executive Committee of the Perdana Fellows Alumni Associations to join us on the stage for the group photo with Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun. Kindly make your way forward. Yeah. Thank you to the Executive Committee of PFAA and Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad for the group photo. We now invite Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad and the rest of our guests on the stage to kindly rejoin the audience as we will be proceeding with a hall-wide group photography session featuring Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun. We kindly ask everyone to come forward or maybe to remain at your seats, stand by your tables or face the stage as our official photographer will be capturing a wide-angle shot from in front of the hall. And with that being said, we officially conclude today's PFAA Speaker Series. On behalf of the organizing committee, we extend our heartfelt thanks to Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad and to all of you for being here with us this evening. To stay connected and catch more accepting updates, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at PFellows Alumni. We'll be sharing photos, highlights, and more from today's event. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep driving digital innovation. We look forward to welcoming you again at our next session. Till then, take care and have a wonderful day.